Good morning, Ken. It's still an active scene here in South Sacramento. Police still looking for details after last night's shooting.
This wind is pushing the fire southeast tonight as farmers scramble to save their animals before it gets too dark. 18 complaints include making sexually explicit jokes, discussing illegal sex acts, inappropriate touching, and using state computers to access X-rated sites. The city went on to say the water supply for this development south of 50 will not impact the water supply for customers here on the north side of 50.
Macy, we learned several more disturbing details today about this case. What are police saying?
Well, as you heard from what the sheriff said earlier, the details are very limited, especially on these two suspects. He only said they spoke Spanish. They were two Hispanic women, but they tried to conceal their identities as much as they could. The original architect built the bridge to be adjustable. Every year, the engineers would come and reposition these metal rods. But after 155 years, the rods can't be adjusted anymore. This started off earlier this evening, about 3 hours ago, with 200 people here chanting very peacefully. Now this has taken a turn as police officers stand in their riot gear, people throwing things at the police officers. This whole area shut down. But Black Lives Matter says that is not a solution. It is not enough. They also want a civilian investigator that is an active part in this investigation, along with the Attorney General's office.
Macy?
Well, Tony, what looks like a victory for Republicans has Democrats outraged, and California lawmakers already making plans to push back against the legislation.
This is Good Day.
Every year, thousands of pets die from house fires and smoke inhalation. Now, Bay Area first responders are working to implement a new device to prevent that.
Go. And we can read it this way.
Tina, we need your energy to calm it down.
I've been trying.
All right, we're going to stretch it out. 8:38.
Feels so good.
Ooh. Don't be so quick to walk away. Come on and dance with me.
This is my favorite time of the day.
This brings back the memories. Just before 6 o'clock, the boiling point for protesters furious about Stephon Clark's death.
I'm not here for anything other than Stephon.
Pressure continued to mount inside the lobby of City Hall, finally erupting into a march towards Golden One Center.
If you don't stand up now, you ain't never gonna stand up for nothing.
With signs and T-shirts in tow, they chanted Clark's name. Peaceful for the most part, with arguments and disputes bubbling up from time to time.
We're not playing. We're not playing. The SAC here, you see all these people?
Dozens lined the doors outside of the arena, refusing to let fans inside for the game.
All the people that left out of respect for the family, I get that. But we here, we're not moving. Because if we move, then they get what they want.
But even some protesters weren't sure this was the right move.
I'm kind of biased on that situation, on shutting down the game. But at the same time, we got to get our point across.
And as hundreds stood watching the commotion, it became clear the line between Kings fan and Clark supporter isn't so black and white.
When that cop is brought to justice, then we know we've succeeded.
Well, Tony and Adrian, back in the 1970s, Stockton Police Department created a task force. They were trying to gather details about who this East Area rapist was. Well, today, decades later, the detectives were finally able to call those victims and let them know that their suspected attacker is behind bars.
It was a day I had wished for over 40 years.
Bob and Gay Hardwick relieved to hear the East Area rapist is behind bars.
I try to forget the date. I don't think about it.
But the events on that horrific night in March 1978 have never left her mind.
He put a gun to my husband's head and said if I didn't tie him up and tie him up tightly, that he would kill him.
The young couple had just gone to sleep in their Stockton home after a Friday night out on the town. But around 11:30, they were woken up
by a bright light and a mean voice and someone threatening to kill us both.
After Hardwick tied up her husband, the attacker tied her up, took her to another room and raped her.
We were both terrified.
It's one of two identical attacks Stockton Police Department has been investigating since 1977.
The method of operations, or MOs, were the same and are consistent with the criminal behavior of the East Area rapist.
Police Chief Eric Jones says both cases remain open, but he hopes Joseph D'Angelo's arrest is the final piece of the puzzle for the department. Still,
It appears at this time there was no physical evidence located that would link the arrested suspect to our two cases.
Determined to get a fresh start, the Hardwicks moved to a new home and married the year after their attack.
Oh, I loved her then as much as I love her today.
And 4 decades after that terrible night, Hardwick says she looks forward to facing her attacker in court.
I hope I can stand up and tell him that he didn't destroy my life. And like many others who survived him, went on to have a good life.
Tomorrow, the Hardwicks tell me they leave for their first trip to Paris together, celebrating 39 years of marriage. And Gay says she will leave feeling more secure and relaxed than she's felt in the last 40.
Wow. Yeah.
Incredible.
Safe travels and congratulations to them in more ways than one. Macy, thanks.
CBS 13's Macy Jenkins talked to a local artist about why he was inspired to remember the 22-year-old through music.
20 rounds, 20 shots to the day.
A hook inspired by tragedy.
20 rounds, kill an innocent man.
His ode to Stephon Clark.
It took me 2 hours just sitting there.
Not even 24 hours old.
I don't usually write songs that fast. There is just, I felt it.
How am I supposed to make it past 25?
R&B soul singer Phil Harmonic released his original song Friday. It's called 20 Rounds, inspired by the 2 police officers who fired at Stephon Clark 20 times on March 18th.
To be honest, I wasn't surprised because I knew it was going to come. Unfortunately, it had to be in our own city, which is a really bad look.
Phil Harmonic has been playing piano and guitar for nearly 20 years.
I didn't exactly come out the womb with it, but, you know.
Every lyric he writes sparked by his journey through life, good or bad.
There's a responsibility as for me to be as an artist, just to use my voice.
He calls the protests over the last week encouraging, but says marching through the streets of Sacramento is only the first verse of this movement.
Saying the names is good, but I think we should be doing more than that. We really need to change something, and this is the only way I know how to change it.
20 rounds, 20 shots to the dead.
This artist just hoping his melody can carry the voices of a revolution.
Let's believe I'ma fight until I'm free. If they won't give us justice and no peace.